Hey, good evening, guys. What's up? It's Tom Clark over at TFC IV MMA. We are back. We have an awesome matchup for you guys this weekend. The UFC heads to Kansas City, the home of the best barbecue in the world, right in the center of the Midwest, and they blessed us with quite a main event, literally and figuratively. We got Max Blessed Holloway going up against Arnold Allen. Max obviously taking a little bit of time off since his last fight. I know 9 months isn't crazy for a lot of people, but with how active Max usually is, it was kind of a layoff for him. We got him going up against Arnold Allen, the 10-0 surging Brit. So it's going to be an awesome night of fights, but the prelims are just as good as the main card in this one. So let's get started early. We got Jocelyn Edwards going up against Lucia Pudilova. Jocelyn comes in at a slight underdog at about plus 115. Lucia coming in at about a minus 140. Jocelyn's 3-2 in the UFC with the win over Kim in her last time out. Lucia is 3-6 overall, but this is her second stint in the UFC, and she had the win over Wu in her last fight. So both these girls coming off impressive wins, and that's why the odds are what they are. But at underdog money, I'm going to have to go with Jocelyn Edwards on this one. So lock it in at plus 115, Jocelyn Edwards. After that, we go to Gaston Bolanos going up against Aaron Phillips. Obviously, Gaston's overall 6-3. This is his UFC debut. Aaron Phillips overall in the UFC is 0-3. I believe 0-1 in this stint. This is also another guy with a couple stints in the UFC. We have a couple people like that on this card. So, as you can see, but just based off the record and the record in the UFC, Gaston is a 2-1 favorite, coming in about minus 200, with Aaron coming in about a plus 160. And in this one, you got to give me the favorite with Gaston Bolanos. Lock it in at minus 200. After that one is one I'm actually really excited for. We got Bruna Brazil going up against Denise Gomez. We saw what Bruna Brazil did on Dana White Contender Series. She looked great in LFA, and she went on the Contender Series and put on a head kick knockout that was just insane. She looked awesome out there, and she's going up against Denise Gomez, who just made her UFC debut last fight. She did lose against Lona Lukambume, but that's not a loss to hang your head on. That's a very good opponent, and we saw that in Australia when Loma got the great finish. So, not one to hang your head on. But at minus 170 and looking how good she did on the Contender Series, I got to go with Bruna Brazil on this one. After that, we have the return of Lando Venata back up to lightweight. He comes in as a slight underdog in this one at plus 105. He's going up against Dan Zellhuber, who's coming in about a minus 125. So very close odds on this one. Zellhuber did lose against Ogden in his UFC debut, so 0-1. And obviously Lando Venata, longtime UFC veteran, 12 fights in the promotion. But his last fight was a loss against Charles Jourdain. So he's going back up to lightweight, the weight class in which he competed in some of his earlier years, which we saw him against Tony Ferguson and guys like that. So at underdog odds, I think you got to go with Lando Venata. Zellhuber didn't look great on the ground against Trey Ogden. Trey Ogden's a very good grappler, so that just may be Ogden's grappling ability. But these odds are very close, and I got to go with the veteran on this one in Lando Venata. After that, we go back to the women's divisions, and in this one we have Piera Rodriguez going up against Jillian Robertson. Jillian is obviously a veteran of women's MMA, 13 fights in the UFC, coming off a winner last time out against Akapoya, and then she had the grappling match against Rose Namajunas, which she did win. So she's riding a little bit of a hot streak in MMA and in grappling. Piera is 2-0 in the UFC, but her last win aged very well after this weekend. Her last win is against Sam Hughes, and we all saw what Sam Hughes did as a massive underdog this last weekend. So that win has aged pretty well for Piera. So at those odds, they're so close. Jillian, her grappling is very good, so I wouldn't be surprised if she took this one. I think the experience is also a big factor. But at plus 105, I'm going to take another shot at an underdog. Give me Piera Rodriguez. Gotta get that water going. Had a good workout before this, so I've got to stay hydrated. Gotta get all these extra pounds off. After that, we have Zach Cummings going up against Ed Herman. Two people that we kind of thought were retired. Didn't think we'd see in the UFC again, but the UFC announced it and said, hey, deal with it. So I think we're all two veterans of the game. Ed Herman's 13-11, 24 total fights in the promotion. Zach has 13 fights at 9-4. Zach's coming off a win against Chirico his last time out, whereas Ed Herman did lose to Alonzo Menefield. But Alonzo's a good fighter, so nothing really to hang your head on. Zach's a minus 220, and I think that's the line to take. I mean, nothing really about this fight super intrigues me, but I think Zach at minus 220. I wouldn't bet it, but I'd pick him to win. It's one of those kind of fights. Just like I had Gilbert Burns last week. I'd pick him to win, but I'm not betting at those odds. So, just one of those. After that, though, we go to a feature bout in the flyweight division, and this is one that really should have been on the main card. If you ask me, this could have been the co-main event, and I don't think anyone would have any issues. Or this could be the feature bout, and I don't think anyone would have any issues. We got Brandon Royval going up against Mateus Nicolau. Both of these guys are highlight finishers. We both coming off wins against Matt Schnell. Brandon Royval, 6 fights in the UFC, 4-2. Mateus, 8 fights, 7-1. So both guys have looked very good. I will say, against Schnell, which is a common recent opponent, Royval did get the guillotine win, but he was kind of getting beat up there for a little bit by Matt Schnell, whereas Mateus just went out there and put a beating on Matt, did that awesome celebration that he's known for. So I'm very excited. Mateus is about a 2-1 favorite, coming in about -210 with Royval at +175. I think I'm picking Nicolau in this one. I would bet him a little bit. I wouldn't go too heavy on it. But what I would say is the under on this one. I'd go under 2 rounds, or the fight does not start round 3. I don't know what the odds are, but both of these guys are finishers. Brandon Royval, all of his wins, I believe, have come in the first or second round. So I think that would be a little decent bet for that card. But official pick, give me Mateus Nicolau there. And then we go to the featherweight division. This is one I'm really excited for. 2 big personalities, 2 really cool guys. We have TJ Brown coming off a win against Silva his last time out, and he's going up against Senior Perfecto, Bill Algeo. Bill had a tough fight his last time out against Andre Fili. He made it competitive at the end, doing some good damage from bottom and such, but pretty clear win for Fili. Before that, though, last year at UFC Long Island, Bill had one of the better performances against Herbert Burns, so that was an awesome fight. Both of these guys are 3-3 in the UFC. Algeo does come in at the betting favorite at -200, with TJ coming in about a +160, and this is tough. I think these odds are a little swayed. I like Algeo in this fight, but I like TJ in this fight. I really think these should be pick'em odds. I really don't think Algeo is warranted as a 2-1 favorite, although his grappling defense did look very good against Herbert Burns before Herbert gassed. So, I don't know. I'm pretty torn here, but I don't know. I've taken a lot of underdogs already, so give me Bill Algeo. Give me the safe pick on that one. Then we go to the main card, and we start off with another legend of the game, Clay Guida. He's going up against Rafa Garcia. Guida comes in about +210. Garcia comes in about a -165. And obviously the UFC experience, there's no one who can really match Clay Guida. 34 fights in the promotion, 18-16. Coming off a pretty impressive win against Scott Holtzman his last time out. Rafa Garcia's 3-3. He's coming off a win against Mahashe his last time out. But I don't know. I really like Rafa Garcia. He's very talented. Obviously trains there with Cub Swanson. Great group of guys. But he's just a little inconsistent for me at that kind of betting number, at -265. And Clay has looked pretty good. Obviously, he did get knee barred by Puelles, but that win against Holtzman, he looked pretty good. So at +210 odds, this is one of those ones where I think you got to go Clay Guida on this one. That number's just too enticing, and Rafa's just been a little bit too inconsistent, in my opinion, to warrant being a 2-1 favorite, personally. After that, we go to the bantamweight division, and this is a fight I think everyone's excited for. You can say leg kicks, leg kicks, leg kicks. There's going to be a lot of leg kicks. Both these guys are great kickers. You have Pedro Munoz going up against Chris Gutierrez. Obviously, Pedro's a guy that's been on the top of this division for a little while. He hasn't had the best of luck lately. He did have the no contest against Sean O'Malley, and then before that, he had 2 L's, Jose Aldo and Dominic Cruz. But the thing with Pedro is he's very dangerous early. We saw that in the Dominic Cruz fight, where it really looked like he was going to put Dominic out of there in the first round, but Dominic's cardio managed and got it done. Chris, on the other hand, a tenacious striker, phenomenal leg kicks, and we saw what he did to Frankie Edgar his last time out. Sucked to see that happen in Frankie's retirement fight, but a premier performance from Chris nonetheless. So I can't wait for this one. Going to be very entertaining. Chris is about a -210, with Pedro coming in at about a +175. Pedro, obviously, with the more UFC experience, 9-7, whereas Chris is 7-1-1. But I got to go Chris Gutierrez in this one. His teammate, Jonathan Martinez, did just have a great performance. It was a very close fight, could have gone either way. But for Jonathan to look that good against a guy like Said Nurmagomedov, I think it was very, very good. So that team's got some things going. So give me El Guapo at -210. After that, we go to the light heavyweight division for another one. We have Iwan Kutalaba going up against Tanner Bowser. And talk about another one, or Tanner Bowser, I'm sorry. Talk about another guy that's just been on a tough string of luck as of late. Iwan Kutalaba. He had that first fight with Magomed Ankalaev where he was kind of faking the knockout and they called it, so they did the rematch, and then he got put out bad. And then he's been so very back and forth since. He's obviously on a little losing streak right now. Lost to Ryan Spann, lost to Johnny Walker, and then lost to Kennedy Nzechukwu his last time out. So I don't know. It's tough on this one. He comes in at a favorite at -130. Tanner Bowser's 4-4 in the UFC. He is coming off a loss his last time out against Nascimento, where his grappling didn't look the best. But I can't justify Iwan Kutalaba at -130 based off what we've seen of him as of late. He just hasn't looked that great out there, and he has been facing a very high level of competition. So that's certainly not something you can hold against him. But I can't do him at favorite odds, so give me Tanner Bowser on that one. Then we we go to 185. I'm sorry. Is this 185, 205? I think 205. We got Dustin Jacoby going up against Azmat Mirzakhanov, and Dustin obviously coming off a very controversial decision his last time out. He did not get the nod against Khalil Roundtree, but a lot of people did think Dustin won that fight. Dustin's a top-of-the-line striker, fought in Glory Kickboxing, a phenomenal kickboxer, actually fought former champion Poatan in Glory, so he's top of the top when it comes to striking. And Azmat has had some very impressive striking wins in the UFC. 2-0, I believe his first win was that flying knee, and then his last one was, I believe, TKO from ground and pound against Devin Clark. So these odds are a little wild to me. Dustin Jacoby's a -165, and Azamat's at +135. So I hate to be dog hunting all day, but you got to give me Azamat on that one. He's coming off a very impressive win against a guy like Devin Clark, who really showed his last time out. He is a great talent. So yeah, like I said, another underdog, but we're going with Azamat on that one. Then we get to the co-main event of the evening. This is a fight I'm super excited about because these guys always bring two things: entertainment and brawling. You have Edson Barboza going up against Billy Q. Edson is one of the greatest strikers in MMA history. His leg kicks are that of legend. He's one of the best kickers we've ever seen, whether it be body kicks, leg kicks, knees to the body, spinning heel kicks, the highlight reel knockout over Terry Edom. So if you're an Edson Barboza fan, you've had highlight reel your whole life, kind of. He's been that guy. But Billy Q is another guy, 5-2 in the UFC, coming off a big win against Alexander Hernandez. Billy Q's one of those guys where he has a phenomenal gas tank. You may beat him up a little bit early, but come round 2, come round 3, he's going to be there, and he's going to be gritting his teeth, ready to throw down with you. And we saw that against Alexander Hernandez, where Alex hurt him pretty bad early on in the fight, but Billy came back later. The one thing that does scare me a little bit on this fight is the odds. I am going to pick Billy Q, and I do favor him in this. I don't think he's quite 2-1 favorite over Edson, just because when it comes to pure striking, it's very tough to beat a guy like Edson. And I don't know if Billy's going to try and grapple him. But give me Billy Q on the pick, obviously. Who doesn't love Billy? Billy the Squid. He's awesome, so we're going to go with him there. But I would not be surprised at all if Edson Barboza won. I feel like the Edson Barboza thing is we match him up with people too high up or bad matchups like Bryce Mitchell, where you put him against a grappler, and then you kind of send him back down and he has these great performances. Obviously, he beat Shane Burgos in that kind of crazy delayed knockout. So Edson's still one of the best when it comes to striking, so I would not be surprised at all if he pulled this one off, but give me Billy Q. And then we head to the main event of the evening. 5 rounds in the UFC featherweight division, and this one's going to be great. You could argue, and I think you'd be right, if you said that this fight is actually more to show who's the second best in the division than the interim fight. Because Max Holloway obviously beat Yair Rodriguez, and Arnold Allen's on a 10-fight win streak. And I know the fight with Calvin Kattar was cut short due to the injury, but he was looking pretty good in that fight. So this is going to be really good. Max does come in as a slight favorite at -175. Arnold Allen coming in at +150. And I'm really torn. It's just, Max is obviously, he's very young. He came in so early, very similar to the guy he dethroned in Jose Aldo, where these guys came in so early, so they're still very young, but it almost feels like they're reaching the end of their prime just because of the damage they've taken. And Max has been a guy where he takes a bunch of damage, and sooner or later those chins do crack. I don't know if this will be the one. It's just, I don't know. Arnold Allen does hit very hard. We saw that against Dan Hooker. We saw him knock down Sadiq Youssef several times. So he definitely has the power where he could do it, but I got to ride with Max Holloway on this one. I always say, unless you've been proven different, you can't go against it. And what we've been proven is that in this division, the only man that can beat Max Holloway currently is Alexander Volkanovski. We saw what he did to Calvin Kattar. I mean, 50-42. 50-43, 50-43, those were the scorecards. You never see that anymore. That was a highlight reel performance. So I'm really excited for this one, but official pick, give me Max Holloway. I'm so pumped for this card. I can only say it so many different ways, but I hope anyone going there is enjoying it. It's going to be awesome. The roof's going to pop off that place in the main event. I can already tell it. Enjoy some barbecue and have a great rest of your weekend, guys. I can't wait to talk to you on Sunday, breaking this fight down after the fact.